Hey guys, Chelsea here. Now when Enlisted releases a new update, there's usually 3 levels that go into prior campaigns. During the Berlin update, the Flamethrower 2s, a new plane, and the Beretta and Thompson were added to Normandy. And with the new Tunisia update, the new anti-tank weapons, being the Panzerfaust and the Bazooka, the Assaulter 3 squads, and the Tanker 3 squads have been added to the game. Which has got me thinking what upgrade will be given to the next update. Now I'm going to be doing what is similar with the other patches. I'm going to use a new weapon, a new squad, and a new vehicle squad. Now I am going to be using a tank squad for both Allies and Axis, and of course there's going to be a new weapon, a new vehicle, and a new infantry squad. First, we need to look at the gaps in the lineups for each of the factions. For the Americans, they are really only missing a big heavy LMG, which something to compete with the MG34 and 42. For the Axis, they're actually missing a closer range LMG to match the BAR. I'd also say they are also lacking with a semi-automatic grenade launcher as well, which is probably what are going to be the two main talking points here. In terms of vehicles, there's actually quite a few missing. The Americans are missing a good anti-infantry specialist, as let's just face it, the Scots not that good. They already have a really good, powerful anti-tank weapon, and they already have the Jumbo, which is a good all-rounder. So having a pretty good anti-infantry which can take some hits would actually be a good step for the Americans. For the Germans, they're missing an anti-infantry specialist, so we're going to have to figure out one of those. With that being said, let's start with the infantry squads. For picking the infantry squad, I'm actually going to instead choose 2 squads here. The first squad is going to be a rifleman squad. Now, I know you're thinking, rifleman 3, really? Here's my reasoning. I want to put in the grenade launchers. Now, the Americans, they're only missing the M7 grenade launcher, which is fitted to a M1 Garand. Now, this will give the M1 Garand with the M7 grenade launcher, which I think will be a pretty interesting upgrade, which will be a good upgrade to the M1 with the M8 grenade launcher. But the problem is the Germans. Now, historically, there was only 5 weapons which the Germans had, which was the Kar 98K, the Gewehr 98, a Hungarian M35, and most damningly, the STG 44 and the FG 42. So basically, unfortunately with this, it's going to be another bolt action unless you want to see fucking noob-tubed FG 42s, which I don't want to see, or noob-tube STG 44s. Again, something I don't want to see. So with the Americans, having the M7 grenade launcher with the Garand is actually probably balanced. However, the Germans are probably still going to be stuck with a bolt action unless they put like a rifle grenade onto a G43, which would be fine, I guess, because it would match the Garand. But really, I think it would actually throw some use, because you'd say, do you want to put in an FG42 or do you want a siege option with the grenade launcher? Obviously, of course, if they give it the FG42 with the grenade launcher, that would be the ultimate arsehole weapon. So I hope they do not pick that. Please don't. I don't want to be cursed as the guy who invented the FG42 grenade launcher. Anyway, with that being said, let's move on to the next infantry weapon, which has the next gap. Coming in for the second infantry squad, it would have to be Gunner 3s. Now, what gunner weapon should be added here is actually quite interesting. Now, for the Germans, there is actually 2 I would add, which is the MG34, which has with that power, whatever it's called, attachment, where you basically have like the 75 drum attached to it. I don't even know what it's called. I can't pronounce it. Or the MG13. Now, the MG13, the reason why I'm saying the MG13 over the others is because it's already in the game, so they can actually be lazy, which would probably happen, ironically. And it would actually fix the whole of the Axis not having a good close-range LMG. Because let's face it, the Braider, you can do about as much damage when you throw the fucking thing at the enemy than you will, and you'll probably hit the enemy more than using it firing from the hip. I reckon the MG13 would fit this niche, and it would compete with the Allied options, because let's face it, that's just the Allies, what the Allies have. They've got the Bren, which is pretty powerful, and they have both versions of the BAR. For the Allies, that one's easy. It's the M1919A6. Now, of course, the A6 was the general purpose machine gun version of the M1919 series. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's still used to this day. It's a very powerful weapon, and it would be the counter to the MG42. It would be the counter to the MG34, which, of course, the Axis have had since time immemorial. And it will be really good for the defense operations, obviously, because let's face it, an MG34 and an MG42 are really powerful in defense. And also, when you're on max flight debris and the Americans are defending, they could probably code it so that there's Brownings instead of MG42s now, which I think could be quite interesting. Of course, the Browning is of course still in the game. Is already in the game. It's used on the coaxials of the American tanks. So it would be quite interesting to see the M1919. I really hope they had either the A4 or the A6 version of this weapon, and I think this will be a good addition to add. Anyway, now let's move on to the vehicle. Now we get on to the vehicles. Now, these won't be in, say, a squad. These will just be a standard vehicle. So probably in replacement for a Panther or another vehicle. So maybe like the Panzer IV and the Jumbo Intention, or the M10 as well, something like that. Now, for the Americans, I actually have 3 vehicles. I've got 3 for both. So for the Americans, they're all versions of the Sherman, so you're going to get a bit bored from this. The first version is actually the 105 Sherman. I think this could be really interesting to add, because it will just add like a bit of a more interesting version of the Sherman. And I think this will be a really good for infantry support. Of course, these were very, you'll know these from Company of Heroes 2. If you play that game, they were quite powerful. And they were basically designed to support infantry, which I think, and make it a more powerful version of the Scott, pretty much would supersede the Scott, unfortunately. But I reckon this would actually be pretty useful. And it's a 105 Sherman, so it'll be quite interesting. The second I want to add is an Easy-8, okay? The Sherman M4A3E8, one of the most iconic Sherman variants of the war. The Easy-8s, obviously, they were introduced, of course, in 44, so around this time. They had the 76mm cannon. So basically, think of them like what happens when you mix the regular Sherman with the new M10. So I think this could be really interesting. Everyone knows what the Easy-8 is. It's one of the most iconic tanks of the war, especially because of that movie. And I think this will be interesting. The third one is actually one I don't think will get made, but I just think it'll be hilarious in the same. It's the bulldozer blades. I just want the bulldozer blades, for God's sake. At least make it a gold order. Come on, they are just so funny. Even if it's just a 75, I just want to mow down, just drive through enemies with those bulldozer blades. And I know the Rhino's in the game, but I'm not using the Rhino. It's not a tank I want to use, and I don't want to replace it over a regular Sherman. Anyway, now let's move on to the Germans. Now, again, I've got 3 German vehicles. The first one is actually the Vespa, which is, of course, the Wasp. I'm just going to call it the Wasp, which is the English version. It first saw service on the Eastern Front, so I don't know if it will be used, but it's pretty much just, I would say it's like the Scott, but with the weaponry of but it's got a 105 over the Scott, which only has a 75mm. I'll have to remember this. I'll have to Google this in post. It looks pretty cool. I think it will add an assault gun to the German arsenal, obviously, because they don't actually have really any tanks to deal with infantry. The Puma, maybe. But let's face it, the Panzer III, Panzer IV, both the Panzer IV and the Panther are all designed against tanks. Even the Puma's really designed against tanks as well. So I think having one of these in place will actually be very useful. The second one is actually fitting this theme, but it's actually a more unique one. It is the Mobilwagen, and we all know what this is. It's it was supposed to be the stopgap for the Ostwind, but I don't think the the Ostwind was more in the Soviets. It only fought the Soviets, so we probably won't be seeing the Ostwind, but you should be seeing the Mobilwagen because this was used against the in the Western Front, and was used. Of course, there are pictures of it being used in the landings in June during the landings. So this would be, it would be a historical fit, and it would fit the stopgap need, and it could actually be quite interesting, as it would give the Axis a way to take down planes as well, which won't be requiring to use other planes and building AA guns. Now, obviously, of course, this will have to be a specialised vehicle, obviously only bought in, similar to what the M10 is at the moment, or the other tank destroyers in general. So, but I think you could also make a claim that this could also be used to help clear out buildings, to help clear out fortifications, and I think this could be interesting. The final the final armoured vehicle is, of course, the Jagdpanzer IV. It's already in the game, so I think, and of course, out of any tank destroyer to be used in this game at the moment, the Jagdpanzer IV would probably be the tank of choice. Of course, this was used by, I believe it was one of the SS divisions used this, and yeah, I would say that these of course probably won't be the best. So this would probably be, it's kind of be like not the jumbo. It would be like the bulldozer Sherman, as in it'll be interesting to have it there, but it won't be like, it probably will be the least likely to be added, or the most likely, to be honest, because it's already in the game in Berlin. Anyway, those are going to be my views on what I think could be added in the next patch. These are just, again, this isn't a concrete, I know these are going to be added. This is just my speculation, my theories, obviously. And for some of these, my hopes. I really want that Sherman. I want that Bulldozer Sherman. Please, can I have the Bulldozer Sherman already? Anyways, I'm going to call this one here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.